Today, ChillPoint is live, much in the same way that CheckPoint is live. This is CheckPoint. In fact, you could say ChillPoint is even liver than CheckPoint is live.
More live. Livelier even.
Yes. We have enhanced beige, apparently.
It's the hair today wants to live free. It didn't want to live free on CheckPoint, weirdly. It was like, no, I'm just gonna sit and look messy.
Sometimes, I know your hair likes to be very wild.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's having an off day, and it just really didn't want to be on camera that
lay
day.
down. It's like, no, so you don't screw it. You want to lay down, I want to lay down. It's like, yeah.
Let your hair be whatever it wants.
Like, part of being free is being free to sometimes not, go all out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry if my microphone was a little loud. I Windows reset the volume of it for no reason.
Update reset?
Like it does.
I'm doing you a favor and putting everything at 100%.
Thanks, Windows. We believe in you.
So, how's it going, everybody? Y'all doing good? How about Beige and Heather? How are you doing?
I've spent all of my channel points.
Yeah, I've also spent all of my channel points. I keep spending them when I get new ones.
We're like 60% away. Oh, it's so exciting. We're going to get ice cream.
I get to see James.
I'm
also
adult,
ice cream.
And I can have ice cream whenever I want. Also, I think I might be allergic to ice cream.
But
I literally have
ice cream. You can talk to James.
Like, I have ice cream in my freezer right now, but hand-delivered ice cream from somebody else somehow is better.
True. Watching James have to do work that he imposed upon himself is a kind of
it's the
fun.
it's the fudge on the ice cream. It's the sprinkles.
Yeah, the magic shell topping.
The little the little extra.
Is that what I want? Do I want a magic like a dip cone? Is that what I'm going to want when this all comes
I'm pretty
true?
sure he's just going to go buy a couple boxes of dilly bars and throw them at people.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that no matter what, that you get this sucker up to 99% and then stop. Edge forever. I want this I want it to just not come true just because it'd be really funny.
So what they could do, because chances are good they'll get to this close to the end of the week and the start of next week, they could just take it to 99% and then stop until for the rest of the 25 days.
Yeah. Wait until the last minute. It's Dragonality. Just put it even. Yeah. That would be real good.
That would be pretty funny.
It'll be like trying to coordinate everybody having 5 minutes of quiet during Desert Bus.
Yeah,
you know what
it would be funny. It's not going to happen, but it'll be funny.
Yeah. You know what I discovered yesterday? Since this is the part of the show where we do this, that apparently Fujiya Japanese market here in town has a 2019 award from TripAdvisor for Japanese sushi.
I didn't know TripAdvisor gave out awards.
Yeah, if you score a certain amount in terms of aggregated ratings, apparently you can get an award.
A real award?
It was a plaque.
Pretty sure TripAdvisor is the only thing that ever gets brought up when we're making fun of it.
Apparently, it's because TripAdvisor is like a Yelp type thing, right? But I was just
a thing we only bring up when we're making fun of it.
Yeah, I'm standing in the Japanese grocery store looking at a thing from TripAdvisor that says, "This is where people like to come to get sushi," and I went, I actually can't argue with that because it's one of the best places to get sushi in town.
I mean, okay, it's true. We do go there to get sushi.
It ain't a restaurant, but man, for grocery store.
Yeah, no, their grocery store sushi is way better than some of the restaurant sushi around here.
So what you're saying is that TripAdvisor provides the useful information, advice in that. They were correct in this case.
It is not like a konbini. There is a konbini. There's literally a store called Konbini on a street in Vancouver that is styled like a Japanese convenience store, but not entirely. But other than the fact that it has, I've been to Japan, I've been into a konbini in Japan, into a Japanese convenience store, and let me tell you, they're much like every other convenience store that I've ever been in. They're not that different.
Okay.
Other than I can't read all the labels.
I know you just woke up, but do you always wake up ranting?
I feel like
super.
I feel like you would be a better gauge of that than anybody else. Does he in fact wake up ranting often?
I wish I could remember the name of the
I'd have to stay around in bed long enough for him to wake up. I have things to do in a day. I'm not waiting for that.
The street in Vancouver is the one that has all the rainbow flags on it. It is the prideful street. I can't remember what the hell it is. It's a good street though.
With modern technology in terms of transportation and freezing and stuff, I know it's usually fine, but as somebody who's lived his entire life on the coast, in fact on an island, I do get suspicious about like when I go to Calgary or somewhere like somewhere inland.
It's not an island.
No, not even not an island. Just like not near the water. I get suspicious about sushi. It's like this sushi can't be that new. Like there's a certain amount of transportation that has to have gone into this. But on the other hand, they transport. There's a very big market for Newfoundland tuna in Japan. So it's like, whatever. They transport fish all around the place. So it's not actually that big a deal, but there's just something in the back of my mind is like,
Once you freeze a fish, it's like a brick.
You should always be suspicious of Calgary anyway.
Yeah.
Have you seen their street system? They use a grid.
Can you imagine the monsters?
Yes. As opposed
to the only thing I can think about Calgary at the moment.
As opposed to the way God intended, which is you just find all the weird little donkey paths that people have been walking for hundreds of years and then just pave them and give them names.
I'm just saying, if you have to ask for an address and then your follow-up question has to be, which quadrant is that actually in? And am I in the correct quadrant right now?
Yeah. The map looks like a bunch of people went outside and peed in the snow.
Can Victoria, of course, has. Can you guess where Cedar Hill Crossroad is?
You know what? At any given time, it's kind of anywhere it wants to be on the map, isn't it?
Yeah.
The only thing that's reliable is that it crosses Cedar Hill Road.
The one with like the 5 crossing and the star thing, or like a more normal, tamer one?
I can't believe that one of the main intersections in town has 5 streets that come into it.
Have you tried crossing? Because when you see the cross lights, you're just like, I don't know which ones get to go next.
Also, I think, isn't that one, the only main road on that one is Douglas? That's the only road that continues on both sides of that 5-way intersection.
I don't drive, so I don't pay attention to any of this.
Because it's Douglas South, Douglas North, Hillside East, Gorge West, and then Government Street Southwest.
Like, I walk or I get onto a magical street tube that takes me places. It's not...
Confusion.
I don't think about that science.
I am doing a terrible thing. I have led us down the garden path here, and I'm sorry. We should talk about video games. I apologize.
Video games.
All right.
Who wants to talk about video games?
This might explain why I often get lost in video games, though. Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about the stuff that we talked about on CheckPoint and also things that we didn't talk about on CheckPoint. Give you that background information, that stuff that we didn't get a chance to talk about or elaborate on for the stories for CheckPoint.
Yeah. I have a little sleep in my eyes still. I thought I got it.
Starting with Pokemon Go updating.
Go. I asked when this would happen. Didn't think it'd happen yet.
Yeah, whether they're rolling back some of the changes that everyone was like, this is a great idea. All these changes are very helpful. And they're like, yes, they were, but we're not having them anymore. And not only were they very helpful for people who wanted to play the game, they also had been making more money on microtransactions than they have ever before.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that this is an incredibly gutsy stance from Niantic, then, to basically say, we realize that we've been making a ton of money off of you guys, off of you players, ever since we made these changes that make it more convenient for you to play our game. So we're going to make it less convenient to play the game so we can make less money off of you, because goddammit, just get up and go for a walk.
They feel guilty is what you're saying? They're like...
I think it's guilt.
They're like, we made our game too engaging. We apologize.
We wanted to help you guys get some exercise. And now, but because of the pandemic, we couldn't do that. But we, in good conscience, we cannot let that continue. And it's like...
No, I feel like they would have actually come out and said that, and then we would have had a lot of people be angry because those features they added were also very good accessibility features for people who can't go for long walks.
And that's part of the issue here. Like the real, and it always seems like a weird thing to be like, wow, these features are great. They let me, an able-bodied person, play from home. Oh, right. Also, I guess good for disabled people, because it kind of always seems how it goes, right? Mm. It's always like the afterthought.
Yeah, it is an afterthought.
But regardless of that, it's still important that these kind of changes existed for anybody that was in that kind of situation. And so even if it's like, oh, I'm saying this after the fact, it's like it still doesn't discount the fact that it was important, and it's important to always try to keep those things in mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. To be fair, they are keeping, some of the changes, some of the being able to like remotely join
Go
raids
Battle League.
The Battle League and raids and stuff. So they are keeping some of the changes, but
yeah, it's like, when do they decide to take those changes back as well? Like, we can't.
Right.
It's confusing as to why they took these ones away in the first place, because they haven't really said anything about why, so much as they just have.
It sounded like it makes it harder. What they've taken away is the things that actually really made it easy to play the game, like getting triple Stardust or XP for your first catch of the day, it's like that.
They kept that one.
Oh, they are. Yeah, that's
they
interesting
kept that
around.
one.
It's things like decreased distance needed to walk an egg, and they're like, okay, so that then is a thing where it's like you're going to have to do more walking, and then incense spawning Pokemon. So it sounds like it was only just because we didn't list every feature that's going away. We actually spent a lot of time listing things that are like, they're keeping this, they're keeping these things, which are going to cut down on people gathering in groups, which is a good thing because we don't want people to gather in groups.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the things that are just like, but what if I can't be out walking as long as I used to?
It's an interesting idea that Pokemon Go. I feel like I wonder how much like they actually feel like they have some sort of, I don't know, civic responsibility for, like, it's like, okay, we'd make more money if we kept it this way, but the whole point of our game is to get people out and walking. And so we've got to ratchet that up a little bit and increase the walking requirements.
Yeah.
That they're actually sort of coming at it from like an angle of sort of
altruism,
benevolence, sort of.
I guess
in a weird way.
Them making eggs require more walking doesn't make me go walk more.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
when the
maybe
game
you
first,
just don't want it. Maybe you don't want those eggs then, eh?
When the game first came out, well, I mean, if they haven't already, I haven't played Pokemon Go in ages, but if they haven't made a way for me to trash eggs at this point without actually walking them off, they should. And to be honest, I'm like, okay, it's going to take me more time to walk that egg. Sure, when the app first came out, I was like, yeah, okay, I want that egg and everything's new and exciting. But guess what? I already have most of the Pokemon in the 2K eggs. I am walking 2K to open this egg just so that I can go get another egg. Forget it. It's annoying. Yeah. It's inconvenient, and I don't care.
And as people in chat point out, increasing the walking requirements as it's getting colder outside seems odd.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, obviously the walking an egg thing isn't new, but doesn't that seems odd? Like walking with it, that's like the thing you don't do. Famously, animals don't move around when they have eggs.
Well-
To the extent that that some animals literally die because they can't leave their nest in order to eat.
So in Pokemon,
And they can't move their egg.
in Pokemon the main series, you carry your egg in your party, and it's based upon a number of steps happening before the egg will hatch. So really,
that's actually
this
canonical
mechanic kind of works with that.
Oh, okay.
That's why you
It's
used
still
to,
true that most animals don't carry the
All right.
eggs around with them and be like, "You're going to hatch soon." But
you find yourself a nice safe
you know what?
space and you rubber band your Game Boy so the thing keeps walking into.
You know
Yeah.
what? If that's how Pokemon work, okay. I found out a few weeks ago that when we were doing the Minecraft Punch a Chunk thing for PAX Online, I learned all sorts of interesting things. Like all the creatures in Minecraft come from eggs. The zombies, the skeletons,
Villagers?
villagers, pigs, sheep. They all come from eggs.
Okay, cool.
Don't question it.
Enderman.
okay, I mean, I'm not gonna. I just saw
There are bee eggs. Yes.
I just saw an
Squid
anime
eggs.
the other day. Me and my friends have been watching Hunter x Hunter, and they had to go get eggs from a thing that they kept calling spider eagles, and that thought alone just horrified me. So
It's an eagle with 8 wings.
they didn't show what the spider eagles look like in that
6
episode. I don't know if they're gonna
Oh, they
later,
didn't?
but just these giant egg sacs hanging in a canyon.
There's not.
And being called spider eagle eggs was really gross.
There's basically no configuration of spider eagle that I would be in favor of.
Right?
It's like whether it's like a spider with eagle wings or like an eagle with 8 wings or an eagle with 8 eyes. There's no way spider eagle works as a thing that I want to see.
An eagle with a segmented body.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Oh.
not getting any better, isn't it?
Oh,
not cool, not
this
cool.
is not helping.
All right, let's talk about Flight Simulator. Wonderful glitches in Flight Simulator, which, as somebody in the YouTube comments pointed out, if we combined this glitch with the other glitch that made the ridiculously high tower in the middle of Australia, then maybe one would fill in the other. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the hilarious aspect of using real world GPS data that occasionally has weird glitches in it.
Fascinating to know though that if this was all if everything they imported was accurate, that also then points out that there is an area that if you used your GPS solely to land, it would try to smash you into the ground. So I think it's good that Microsoft Flight Simulator is doing this, so we can figure out exactly how screwed up our data is.
I mean,
What I love
could
about
just be
in some ways, I can imagine that it's almost like the Google's Google does the CAPTCHA stuff. In some ways, having thousands and thousands of people flying effectively, doing aerial reconnaissance over your entire map is actually probably not a bad way of checking things out.
Yeah.
But what I love about the video that we showed on the thing is, of course, it goes down, but the way it's not just like a hole, it's like the surrounding because the surrounding features and things, it tries to kind of blend it. And so the surrounding features are kind of being pulled in like a black hole, like they're being stretched and pulled in.
And that's what I liked about this so much is that looking at it, I'm like, if it was just like a hole in the landscape that went straight down, it's like, that's also really interesting and funny. It's like the Springfield Mystery Hole. But the fact that everything just bends in, and I'm like, this is some Inception shit, and it looks kind of amazing to see, like, that guy who built his house on the side of whatever is like, it's hard to get to work in the morning, but I can utilize a lot more of the surfaces in my house to hold things because everything's on like a 45-degree angle now. I sometimes wish I could put things like furniture on my walls so I would have more room to do. There's a whole bunch of vertical space in my house that is just going unused. Let's just be honest.
More bunk beds is what you need.
Yeah.
I saw some people in the YouTube comments were like they should just add more of this kind of stuff, weird holes and things for people to discover.
Little Easter eggs and things for people to notice and talk about.
Right. Chat does point out that there is a pre-existing thing for putting stuff on walls, which is called shelves.
Right.
We have that technology.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but I think Beach wants to like throw a chair at the wall and have it just stick.
Yeah.
And be
that's
there.
that's just Velcro, is what that
like the TikTok that went around for a while.
Yeah.
The Wii Sports themed TikTok. Anyway, or Wii Play. Or
I guess we could line the whole wall in Velcro and
we could.
And you get one of those Velcro suits and you run, thunk, thunk onto the wall.
And have a pleasant night's sleep.
Exactly.
Would we use a staple gun or like just like a lot of hot glue?
Oh, I'd have to use. We'd have to put screws on the wall if we wanted to hold any sort of weight.
Like a nail gun.
Even a nail gun would not hold any appreciable weight. I don't think. I'd have to nail gun a lot to kind of.
I don't want to deal with putting screws in. I want something that makes a ka-chunk sound when I hit it. You sure I can't have a nail gun?
You can have a nail gun.
Huh?
Yeah. I don't give a shit about that.
Well, let's talk about CD Projekt Red's crunching on stuff.
Boy, did that get a lot of people in our comments bent out of goddamn shape.
I mean, I don't know why you were surprised by that. I could have told you that based on the Twitters I've read.
Hey, CheckPoint, guess what? Your comedic satire TV show thing is wrong about this. And it's like...
It's the interesting thing about it is, obviously, mandatory crunch and stuff is not good. And it's not like that's a surprise to CD Projekt Red. I mean, they know that. And they did delay the game. And they are paying people extra and stuff. So there is a big chunk of mitigating factors on this, which I think in our Slack, the part of the takeaway from this I had was like, CD Projekt Red, we have better business practices or better employment practices than some of our competitors who are famous for having really, really bad employment practices. So that's good, right?
Yeah.
So I do have some sympathy, and I respect that the CEO came, or the studio head came out and did actually say, yes, I said this other thing before, I'm having to go back on that, rather than just kind of trying to like weasel out of it or something, like trying to sort of pretend like they're not doing it. So I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame. It's also an interesting insight into the world of video game development, in the sense that this game has gone off for certification, but apparently is still so bug-ridden that it needs to have 2 months worth of overtime work on it.
Well, because isn't certification for video games more to do with the content within the game, like the rating of like, does it have blood and gore and whatnot, as opposed to does it work?
I thought certification in this case was like to get it approved to be on like Xbox and PlayStation. But maybe you're right about it being.
I don't know, like I know we definitely get like a lot of reports, like sometimes you even find out about a game because it's like, oh, game got certified in like Sweden, we're probably getting that soon, that kind of thing. But I thought that was for a rating thing.
The part of like the reason this story gets written everywhere, the reason this story gets written is because it was a company coming out and saying that we don't agree with how the industry has at large been working, that right. Crunch is a terrible thing. And you know what? We're not going to have mandatory crunch. The non-obligatory crunch policy quote from the beginning of the story is like, you might be asked to stick around on nights or weekends, but it's not a requirement. And obviously you'll make overtime because that's how that's supposed to work. And it's like, if you can be asked, that's one thing, but even then there's that strong push of your boss saying to you, that if you don't stick around and other people are sticking around, it's going to look like you're not a team player.
Yeah,
and it's I don't give a shit if I'm a team player or not. And it's like, well, you will when it comes to your review time, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, when Graham said they're going with the shame-based system.
Yeah,
that's not like a comment that says that's actually what's happening, but it's very likely that, especially in a group situation like that, where you work in an industry where after every project potentially you could be laid off and you have to go find another thing, the idea that you're not doing enough so they might not hire you next time is pretty big.
Yeah. And then so there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure in any job where these kind of things happen, but especially in the video game industry where, as Heather says, you can be laid off between games and then rehired again, or depending on how.
Yeah, and maybe that doesn't work that way with this studio.
I don't know.
But it does work with a lot of studios that way.
But the thing here is when you say, we're not going to do mandatory crunch for this game, that's not something we believe in, and that's not something that's important. And then you come around later and say, hey, so that thing that we said that we don't believe in, that we don't think is right, we're doing it now. It's like...
Turns out there's some circumstances where you got to do it.
And I think that you have to take your lumps. I think that in the media and in people discussing your game or in discussing whatever it does, it's like if you turn around and you do something like that, it's like you got to be prepared to be excoriated for it, because you did say, this moral position I've taken, we are now... We can't imagine a way why we would ever do this. It's like, well, and then you did. And it's like, you're going to take your lumps for a bit, and then it'll move on.
They got a lot of kudos for delaying the game and saying about not how they're not doing crunch.
Yeah. I mean,
from us, we talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't he say that he... I don't know, whoever we were quoting, that...
Yeah, he says...
he would take the...
Yeah, he says
himself.
He says, I take it upon myself to receive the full backlash for the decision. So, according to his wishes.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's the actual fight. The fighting that's going on online over this is people who are like, well, yeah, but that's how things work, and that's how things are, and that kind of thing. And that's where most of the fighting is actually happening.
If you say shit like, that's how things are, like, this terrible thing is happening, but hey, that's how things are, it's like, it almost, you get very close to the line of saying, that's how things should always be.
But it's like, unexpected stuff comes up, whatever. Like, the last couple months of working on, like, Road Quest, people were working harder than they were, there's stuff that sort of happens. And so there's a balance that you have to strike there, I guess.
The problem with the term crunch is less, I think that can happen sometimes, and it's even was an expected thing to happen within maybe the last 2 weeks of something, because you're trying to like get that rest of the way there or whatever, and has more to do with that it has become a part of the work culture that the top-down people are not planning properly in the first place. They're pushing this upon their employees for months and months at a time.
Right, yeah. The idea that people reevaluate the crunch level of people's time as being normal.
Yeah,
and then crunch is more than that now.
people don't get paid for that extra, but at the same time, and it's like, it's great that they're getting paid, but there's still a physical and emotional amount of stress you're placing on a person for a long length of time when that happens. And that's why crunch is really this terrible thing that has occurred. It's because it's become a terrible thing. And it's like, yeah, it sucks. They have to do crunch, and he's apologized for that and whatever. And maybe it's not as bad as other places, but that doesn't mean they should be applauded for having to do crunch in the end.
I mean, I guess, presumably there's a big agreement. There's some serious business agreements going on in order to have, that it's got to be out in time for the release of the next gen consoles.
Rather than say, like, we'll delay it for 3 more weeks while we just get the last little tweaks done.
Maybe they can't delay it anymore. That's
right. Like,
very possible.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had, like, that delaying it would have been their first option. As they've said, they've sort of they've extended all their different options, and this is the only thing they can do. So
yeah,
I have some sympathies for it, but yeah, I mean, they got a lot of praise for not doing crunch, and cuts both ways. But
I think we should.
It's better than it could be.
I think we can also say too that it's like, as somebody who is bad at writing code and understands how difficult it is, especially when you're bad at writing code, is that coding is like computer programming itself is as much an art as it is a science. That especially as things get more and more complicated. The science gets complicated, the art gets complicated. The ability to be like, I found a bug. It's like, okay, you found a bug, so what do? Well, if I pull on the string and tie off the string, in the process of tying off the string, I might have caused a ripple somewhere else in the fabric of the program, right? Like, you can cause more bugs by fixing bugs sometimes. So when you have that many moving parts going on, obviously you can't just say that, well, it's okay if we just throw another 1,000 man hours at this, we'll fix the problem. It's like, that might never be true. And that's the complicated thing about saying that, well, they said they deliver the game on time, and so they're crunching to kind of fix these things. Like, they're crunching because, in a way, like, most companies will crunch because it's panic time. It's like, just keep putting more hours into it, keep putting more people looking at the problem until somebody figures out what the solution to the problem is. And it's like, that sometimes you might never really get there. You might never really find a way to fix that problem.
I mean, when this game ships, because a lot of games do these days, chances are good it will have a day one download patch. Chances are good there will be a number of weeks afterwards in which they will be fixing the more minor glitches, because like when they find bugs, they rate which ones they need to do first. But it does kind of make you wonder how much is not done that they need to crunch and that they can't just add afterwards.
And I feel like I have compassion for the people that have to do this. Like, I realized that I was so bad at code. I'm like, when I meet somebody who is good at computer programming, who loved doing it, who makes it part of their job, I definitely felt that it's like, I want to protect this person. I want to ensure that whatever it is, that's what I want to do with my career. Is I'm like, I want to ensure that those people who are doing those things, I want to be able to say, you have to give them room to do the thing, and you can't push them and make them like sit in their office until they figure out a problem. They might just want to do that on their own, but it's like, I can't say I'm demanding a 6-day work week out of you, or you'll never get to go home, 120-hour work week. Like, it's like, I could never do that to somebody, because I'm like, I don't think that leads to better product. Sometimes you just can't just force creativity out of somebody for 7 days a week.
There's an interesting aspect of programming or software development, which is something which is almost unique to software development, is that and especially game development, it's that like there's very few other industries where you are doing something that is such a large budget and such a large sort of production. We're talking AAA titles now. We're talking often hundreds of millions of dollars, akin to a blockbuster movie or something. But like a movie, everybody basically knows how it goes, right? Like the technology of cameras and things has been known for a long time. Sure, stuff can go wrong, but with games and with software, often they are literally inventing new things. Like they're inventing new things as they're going. This $100 million, $200 million production is all based on code that people are kind of working as they go. And so the chances are so much higher of just like some random thing coming up to completely scupper the whole endeavor or to slow everything down by a week or a month or a year.
Or mean that you have to restart your entire project, Metroid Prime 4.
Oof.
I mean, based on what we know, right?
No, they said that. They came out and said that one.
So, but I'm like, based on what we are told, we won't get a full breakdown of that story maybe for years or ever. But we were told that this thing has to restart. We just don't really know why.
All right, let's go on to jump roping.
Yes.
Which is that Beach was very disappointed in Nintendo for not taking Jump Rope Challenge.
For not fulfilling their promises.
Not fulfilling their promise to get rid of Jump Rope Challenge.
Sometimes it's fun being an agent of chaos in CheckPoint to just write stories that, why would you even write a story like this? It's like, well, I had an axe to grind, I guess.
Somebody in the comments was talking about like I feel like they're really emphasizing like Bij's story arc in this episode.
I didn't realize you had a story arc.
In the CheckPoint expanded universe, there's something terribly happening.
I always figured CheckPoint is a very episodic series, so
yeah.
like it didn't really have
always resets back to
like
normal.
Personal development or anything, as far as I knew.
I started writing this because it was like, because I'm like, oh, they said they're going to pull it down, but they didn't. And then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if that was the thing, is that they went back on their promise to do it. Wait, that's what Cyberpunk did. Oh, wait, I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Props, Paul, to for that quote graphic. I really liked that.
I slammed that sucker home. I was like,
that really helped clarify the story, because when Beach read it out loud, I was just like, I'm just confused as to why you're even doing that.
Well, that was the concern. Even when we were talking about it in comments, I had said to Graham and Paul in our comments, I'm like, I think this works, but will people remember the direct opposition quote? Like, because I'm not changing it that much. Will people remember that I've said this? And Paul clearly just was like, well, what if we just put the quote up in both stories and we just scratch it out? It's like,
well, and it's like it was partially too because I had like the jump rope graphic. Yeah. And then I was trying to think of like what graphics to do for the rest of the story. And like my first thought was having like maybe just a shoulder graphic of just like a picture of Beige yelling. But then we were it's theoretically a quote, and we had other quotes. So yeah, I was actually saying to Beach once when we were filming this before we started, I was when I was doing the graphics for the stories this week, I left this one to the end because like I wasn't sure if this was actually a story or if just occasionally Beach will like write something just to kind of get it down. But not actually intend it to be a story.
He'll write, like, little notes and stuff because it's like maybe
and so I was like, I'm not sure if this is actually something that he intends to like say out loud, or whether this is just him getting something off his chest that he's actually going to do.
Space.
He's just going to do a real story, and then I'm like, oh no, this is a real story. Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah. It was really weird because Nintendo basically just did a tweet that was like, "Hey, we've hit 2.5 billion jumps, and there's new jumpers. We will not be removing it on 9:30." And I at first I just stared at the tweet and I was like, "Did someone typo and add the word 'not' when they meant to say that they were? That'd be really weird to say that. Look at how we did, and then we're gonna take it down." I guess they're not taking it down.
Would they have taken it down if there were only 2 billion jumps?
Right?
Like,
Is that the
was
threshold?
there like an internal like secret number that they were like, we're gonna take this off, but if people jump 1 billion times in it, maybe we'll keep it.
I hope there was side bets, like within the
so
company
many-
being like,
That's so many jumps.
I kind
That's
of
a
wonder
million
if,
people jumping at 2,500 times each.
I kind of wonder if what happened was they put the game up. It like was instantly reported on as, isn't this a weird thing? Someone made it as part of an extra thing, and they've put it up for free. They did a small update to it for new costumes, and then after that, I wonder if they just didn't get like a lot of downloads and people were starting to taper off using it. So for whatever reason, they were like, we're going to take it down. Don't really know why. But they said that. They stated, we're going to take the thing down. And then suddenly everybody was like, oh, right, that game. I haven't downloaded it yet. And it's free. I better download it now. And then they did. And as they started to encroach closer to the date, because people often make those posts where they're like, hey, if you haven't done the thing yet, make sure you go get the thing. It's free. And if their numbers just skyrocketed and they were like, maybe we should just leave it up.
yeah. That's also learning the wrong lesson, because it's like, oh wait, we told everyone we're going to take this thing away, and they all remembered that it was there, so they all went and downloaded it. It's like, I downloaded it, I haven't even opened it yet. I haven't even.
What are you going to think's going to happen with Mario 3D All Stars? I'm a little wary of what lessons they've actually started to learn.
Like, I think that
If-
people are going to buy all the physical copies of that, and then when it's like 3 days before, it's like, this is coming off the store, anyone who's like, guess I should buy it.
Yeah.
You think I think people could jump 2.5 billion times in Mario 3D All Stars. For that,
Yeah.
they only have to push a button. They don't have to actually jump.
Sometimes I think about how much I hit the A button in games these days, and start to think about like how robust a controller has to be to deal with that level of punishment.
Yeah, the system for testing controllers must be quite extensive.
I wouldn't worry about your A button on your Joy-Cons. The drift is going to hit it way before that button smashes out of life.
Already had our Joy-Cons replaced twice. We had the first time they did a repair because we got the same Joy-Cons back as we put stickers on the back of them. This time we sent them out. We got brand new ones because there's no stickers on the back of them. And let me tell you,
they already have drift again?
No, they don't have drift. I don't think they will, because I think there's other things that got changed. Because I was digging stuff in Animal Crossing before and after I sent the Joy-Cons off. And the rumble is so much stronger in these new cons.
So we had an original, and there's was like I think a slight change made to
we had a
the
launch
Joy-Cons,
switch
when they changed them over. But my understanding is they did not change the actual stick out, which has a rubber component on it that just breaks down after a while.
Yeah,
that is not. You're going to get drift eventually again.
So that will just be what happens.
So the rumble has gotten more intense,
and I don't know why. It's really weird because it's like it's really present, and I'm like, I like it. It's really cool.
And then of course Steve / Alex / Zombie from Minecraft
and another Steve to video games
is going to be the hero. Is going to be the next guy in Smash. It looks like he's got a bunch of really sweet powers and stuff. Some of them are very silly. Like
Heather told me something wild about the stages now too.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of articles that have started to surface about things like people. I haven't read them, so I don't know if it's people have been saying or if it was confirmed that this character has been the negotiations for this character have been going on for like the last 5 years.
For Minecraft?
Yeah, for Steve. And that the specifically for Steve, they had to alter the stages so the blocks could get built.
Oh.
Like there's a lot of work done for this specific character to be brought in. And I mean, granted, Smash always has rebalancing done generally when a new character's brought in. If you follow anybody who plays on a competitive level, they are looking for like all of the changes that go on every time an update happens to that game. And so whenever a new character comes in, there is some rebalancing often done, but this character required stages to be finished because he builds blocks and things, and you've got stages with moving platforms and other stuff that I'm assuming just didn't have the hooks for that kind of thing in it.
I wonder if he's going to be like immediately banned from Pro Smash tournaments.
My understanding is his range is not very long, so I don't know if people will use him or not.
Yeah,
I do
in that case.
Yeah. I do like reading. I mean, we've done stories on CheckPoint before about the the change logs for especially for fighting games, like the hardcore fighting games. Your Street Fighter or whatever, because they'll be like this thing is 1 frame longer than it was before, or like the pickup on this is slightly changed slightly, or this does 1% less damage. Like just these teeny weeny variations. Yeah. But
it's a big deal.
But it's when you're playing at that high level, it can really make a big difference.
If your character punches at 3% less damage points than before, now it requires 1 extra punch, which means another button press, which is a huge deal.
Takes a lot longer to kill some. So also, it did come up in the chat. Frankenstein says in the chat, "What's the next Microsoft property for Smash, Clippy?" And I'm like, that's funny. But the next Microsoft property for Smash, as we all know is happening, is the character from what's his name again? Vault Boy from the Pip Boys.
Oh, Fallout.
From Fallout, yes.
The Fallout Boy.
Yeah, Vault Boy will be the next character.
Not Fallout Boy.
Vault Mr. Boy. Fallout, yeah.
Yeah, now that Microsoft owns Bethesda, then I guess they could do that.
Yeah.
Vault Boy would be good.
And, so I was thinking Dogmeat would be really funny, but
that could be like his assist thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, they've got, another 4 characters in this Smash Pack to go through? Is it 4 or 3?
There's too many characters in Smash.
Maybe. What about one of the ghosts from Destiny, as voiced by Peter Dinklage?
The ghost from Destiny that is actually no longer in Destiny.
That seems more like an item that you would get in the game as opposed to an actual character.
Yeah.
Or maybe a trophy or something, but that would mean that you'd have to put something in Destiny, so I'm going to assume the guy that you trade in your orbs to, or whatever, him. He should be in there. I don't know who he is, but sure, him.
I just realized...
Then they could put the Citadel as a stage. That'd be cool.
I just realized... So I've been playing Hitman.
Yes.
Because it showed up on the Epic Store and stuff, and I picked it up, and I was just thinking like, oh, it'd be funny if Hitman was a character, if Agent 47 was a character for Smash. And I'm like, oh man, he would be like Kirby. Like, basically, he would have a move where, like, you jump up behind someone, knock them out, and then take their outfit. Because that's his thing. Except instead of an adorable little Kirby thing, he would be, like, enormous bald man version of whatever character.
It's really just, like, that's just... If you take the Hitman character, and you just kind of simplify, he just turns into Kirby, is what you're saying.
Basically.
Have we
also
seen
Kirby
what the
is
new
an
Kirby
assassin.
outfit is?
They're just big pink bald blobs, right? Like,
wait, yeah. What happens when Kirby eats Steve?
I think he turns into a pixelized version of Kirby.
So
but I don't know.
Does
if
he
that's
get
true.
like
that's not
turn
true.
into a pink cube?
That's not true.
That is not true. The pink cube they keep showing off is something that somebody came up with because they're like, oh, and then Kirby could eat him and he would look like this. And everyone's like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't sure.
It's not true. We don't know if that's not what's going to happen.
Have we not seen what happens to Kirby? We don't know Kirby's outfit. That's the best part of Smash.
Yeah, like, because apparently this is from reading a Discord I was on. People were like, "I can confirm that we have no idea what Kirby turns into when Steve is eaten, because I am part of a group of people that have gone frame by frame through the trailer looking for any evidence."
But it's the best part of Smash.
When's it actually coming out?
Ah, shit, I don't care.
I don't know. I only watched the trailers of a new character drop because they're generally pretty cinematic and pretty interesting. And then somebody tells me what Kirby looks like, and I'm like, oh yes, Kirby got a cool new hat.
My fear, my suspicion, or the like sort of thing would be like he just gets like the pixelated sword, and maybe like the like square helmet, which would be kind of lame.
Yeah, I think they should really lean into the fact that he should look more like a block.
Yeah, yep. If Kirby just turned into a cube, that would be amazing.
With little pickaxe. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Same face.
I mean, I'll tell you what, if Nintendo's listening, which of course they always are, they always listen to me and all the things I ask for. If you put Karate Man from Rhythm Heaven as a playable Smash character, so I can justify playing Smash on Rhythm Cafe, I will personally buy a copy of Smash. Oh, finally.
That would be pretty awesome if he was like, if he had to be, but he had to actually be like played rhythmically to work.
Yeah, right? To the music?
Yeah,
that'd be so rough.
All right.
Karate Joe,
That's my promise. They're not going to do it because they're cowards.
It's 3 p.m. We have time to do the other stories now.
Yeah, let's talk about some other stories. EVE Online players aren't the headline: EVE Online players aren't happy with the game's latest resource changes. So, the CCP, the developers behind EVE Online, you might call the god of EVE Online, the gods of EVE Online, are fickle gods. And so they have decreed that there is not enough fighting.
Oh,
it's like, so basically what they're doing is they're changing they're messing with the distribution of resources in the world, in the universe, such that like there's something like 6 main resources in the universe, and at the moment they're all pretty much available wherever. In different, like you bind them off asteroids that are kind of floating around and stuff. But what they're going to be doing is making it so that only certain resources are available in certain areas of the universe. So basically, all these, these various corporations and alliances and things that have like, we own this chunk of the universe, these bunch of planets and stuff, might end up in a situation where they don't actually have one of these resources that they require. And so now either they have to start start trading with other people or fighting with other people to acquire these other resources, right? So it's basically, but I just love this idea where it's like, in the real world, the distribution of resources throughout the Earth's crust and things is effectively random due to various things that have happened over the last millions of years. Whereas in the world of Eve, effectively God can just be like, let's shuffle it up a little bit. Let's mess it up. There's
They'll never see this coming.
Well, there's that like the old like comedy or like joke of like, whose great idea was it to have like the holy place for 3 big religions to be the same spot, so they are fighting all the time.
Weird that, huh?
When that's basically what CCP is doing. They're like, let's make it so that people have to fight. I mean, they could trade. But let's be honest here. There's going to be a lot of fighting.
I am surprised, Paul, that because every story I've ever heard about EVE Online is how big and massive these goddamn wars are.
I know, right?
I can't understand why the game company is like, it's good that you guys are fighting these epic wars, but we could go for a little bit more of that.
And apparently the other thing that they are concerned about, or that they want to, that this is designed to mess with, is that a bunch of these big corporations, it's like, there's a similarity to our chat with those chat points that people are spending on the ice cream right now. You see, there's these big corporations in EVE Online that have been around for more than a decade in some cases, and have been stockpiling resources, right? To the extent that, and that's part of the reason why these giant fights go on for so long, is that all these big corporations have so many resources that they can fly in, all the ships blow up, and then they can build more ships and come in and keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And so part of this is actually apparently trying to sort of drain resources from these big stockpiles that are around. Much in the same way,
of the things in our game.
Much in the same way that James is draining resources, draining channel points in order to encourage people to get us ice cream. That analogy sort of worked.
James is starting an ice cream war. Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. Actually, by the way, talking about wars of attrition, that's actually the whole thing in EVE Online. Every war in EVE Online is a war of attrition because, of course, nobody dies for real because it's a video game. Which is kind of interesting, though, because it means that basically you fight until the other side gets bored, or it's basically it's more of a propaganda fight. Like, you basically fight until the other side isn't willing to fight anymore, doesn't see any point to fighting anymore, and gives up. And so often wars are more about like demoralizing your opponent than killing as many, and obviously destroying a bunch of their ships is a good way to demoralize them. But there's also stuff they do outside of game to demoralize people. Just kind of an interesting way of operating, be in a situation when you change that idea that like you literally, obviously people can't die. You can lose all your stuff, but you are still around. It's kind of funny. All right, other stuff. The tattoo artist responsible for WWE superstar Randy Orton's tattoos. He's got big arm sleeve tattoos. The tattoo artist is suing Take-Two because they are replicating the tattoos as part of his likeness in the WWE games. And that is apparently not covered under the licensing that is currently. I mean, tattoos are kind of in the weird spot where there is like weird licensing around them.
Yeah.
And there was actually a story a while ago about a similar thing that happened with one of the NBA games. Now that one, the tattoo artist lost or was ruled against. But part of that was that it was determined that the tattoo wasn't high enough resolution in the game to really be recognizable as their art. So who knows how this will actually end up.
I think it's really interesting that in a way, like if you had a painting that an artist, like if an artist just made a painting and somebody said, I'm buying that painting. So that person owns it. They own that painting because it belongs to them now. Nobody can say, I'm taking this away from you, But if you reproduce it, because you say, I have the ownership of this, so I want to be able to reproduce this image somewhere on, like, whether it's a t-shirt or whether it's making extra prints of it or doing something else, there is that sense of, well, is that something that only the person who owns the painting gets to make the decision of? It's the person who painted it who technically has the copyright to that image, because you can never give up your copyright.
I mean, you can sell it.
You can do permanent assignment of IP rights. That is something that actually exists. But that idea of as a tattoo artist, it's the same kind of thing. Randy Orton owns his tattoos, but I don't know if the tattoo artist, by saying, when you come here and I make you a tattoo and put it on your body, can actually say that they've given up copyright over it. That might not be part of the assignment of rights when you actually put a tattoo on somebody's body, especially if it's something they designed themselves, right? If it's like if it's the stuff they thought of.
Right, and I believe this there is actually already a licensing thing in place for putting the tattoo on TV. Like on the WWE does have, and apparently there was previously they had a kerfuffle with the same artist because they were actually going to make
merchandise
tattoo sleeve shirts. You know, the style of like the T-shirt with the tattoo sleeve with the sleeve on it. And again, she blocked that. So it's an interesting question. Sort of the weird intersection of like copyright and like likeness rights.
And what I think is weird about this is it's like if I choose to get something shaved in the back of my head, and does my barber who did that for me have a right to say, hey, no, you can't reproduce that you can't be in a sketch now and show off the thing that's shaved in the back of your head? Like, I'm like, why would that ever be the case? Sorry, I have a phone call. I'll be right back.
Don't worry, it's a 188 number. It's probably just someone trying to arrest him.
There's similar things for the old thing, like if somebody takes a picture of you, they own the rights to that picture, not you.
Right. Were you arrested?
No.
Okay.
I couldn't even understand what they were saying. I don't speak that language.
Oh, you got one of the Chinese ones.
Yeah. But it's funny to me because it's like, if I put something on my body, if I make that choice to integrate something into my body in a certain way, I feel like I feel like making the choice to put something onto my body, integrate something into my body. I keep saying that because I think that's the important part. Making it a permanent part of my body means that I have more autonomy, like, to make that decision. I'm
just more surprised that if this is a thing that constantly comes up with the WWE, because they do make a lot of video games and they make a lot of their own merch with things like tattoo sleeve shirts and stuff like that. It's a thing they want to do. Why they don't actually have a tattoo artist on hire that they would either already have that contract with, or who agrees that those are things that they don't care about and it's just doing whatever.
Because I think the part of that is because tattoo artists are artists. If you say we have an artist, if you're going to work for the WWE and you're going to sign this draconian contract that means that you're going to be a contractor forever and you're never going to get healthcare, yada yada yada. But hey, we have a tattoo artist you can use. And you're like, I'm going to put some art on my body, but it has to be art that this person. I'm going to permanently put something on my body that only this person is allowed to put on my body.
If you've already signed a draconian contract, what makes you think that there's not a thing in there that says if you want tattoos, you have to use this tattoo artist?
And that's kind of the thing. Is it's like if I want to go buy some art and Loading Ready Run was to say to me, it's like, okay, but you can only buy art from these artists.
Yeah.
It's like that's a really weird thing to say. That
is it really that weird?
It's my private house. It's my.
But you're not using your private house as part of marketing for your stuff.
And we come back to the thing of like, what does your own autonomy and your own personal expression, that's why they're arguing this in the courts. It's complicated.
Yeah, like the WWE owns people's names.
Yeah.
So what really makes you think they wouldn't also be like, now you're signing a contract that says
that you have to use our tattoo artist? Because I think when people choose to get tattoos, they don't just choose to get, it's like, I'm going to go get a tattoo. They're like, I want to pick this artist because I love the kind of work they've done. They've been doing
I don't
forever.
Disagree with that, but that doesn't actually negate anything I've said.
It's true. That could totally be a thing, but yeah. Also, though, tattoos I don't think are part of a person's persona, whereas that's what the WWE is saying, is that we own your persona. We own the character that you're coming up with. It's like those tattoos are not part of that person's persona.
I don't see how you don't make them part of your persona after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming there's... I would assume that there's probably all sorts of negotiations about that kind of stuff, especially when people leave under bad circumstances.
If one of them's putting a tattoo on their ass cheeks and they don't show off their ass cheeks, then sure. But if they're putting them on their arms and they're constantly not wearing anything that covers those tattoos, I feel like that kind of becomes part of your persona regardless.
I mean, I'm sure that's actually come up as a argument for people who've left the WWE. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that WWE has tried to pull on somebody.
I would think the solutions would probably turn into, if you want to get a tattoo done, you have to get the company to be like you have to go to a lawyer in the company and be like, I need a tattoo art release.
Yeah,
and then you need to take that to a tattoo artist and say, I want you to do my art, and as in part of doing the art, I need you to also sign this art release so that we're allowed to reproduce it on screen and stage and video games and whatnot. And as a part of that, the artist can be like, sure, but it's going to cost you double the amount to get it done. Because I want to be continually compensated.
I'm surprised they don't have that in at least in post afterwards. Obviously they do some licensing things, but anyway, I love if you've ever seen a show, any like primetime TV show with Steve-O in it, of Jackass and various other things. He has fuck and shit on his knuckles.
Okay.
But of course, he has that written on his knuckles, tattooed. But if he's on a show where they do that, it changes to Rock Lives, I think, is how they change, or something like that.
They retouch it with makeup?
Yeah. That they basically, they're a rock something. Save
Someone
rock
in the
or
chat
something.
will let us know.
And whatever you can see that he because it basically they figured out an easy way to, by just like adding to the letters, they can make it so it's not horribly offensive.
Yeah.
But you gotta watch it with your tattoos like that.
There's lots of ways to cover a tattoo with makeup, and that happens with actors for certain things. They fake tattoos for other things. Like, yeah, I could totally see someone wanting to be like, "Oh, your tattoos say offensive things, and that's not the kind of thing we're allowed to say on the show. So we're going to alter that."
All right. What else we got going on here? Oh, hey, more messed up Pokemon news, or not news, but I mean, it's not news that Pokemon are messed up, but we got a new Pokemon coming out in the next update to Sword and Shield, and it's going to be Slowking, which if you know anything Pokemon, you got your Slowpoke, who's not a very impressive Pokemon. And then Slowpoke evolves by having this like weird shell thing eat its tail.
Yeah.
And now, I think Slowking already existed, but there's a new Galarian version of Slowking that has the shell thing on his head, has psychic powers, and is effectively eating the Slowpoke's head while poisoning it, because it also has poison now.
It's like it's a little cape.
It gets a little cape. So it's adorably dying.
I think it's pretty cute looking in this photo. I mean, except for the weird green slime popping out of the thing. It's
so odd that there's like a gradient of hey, everything, like the top half is all purple, and then including the arms, but the bottom half is still pink, and it's like, oh god, this thing is getting.
Oh right, because this is in conjunction with the new expansion thing.
Yeah,
that's coming. I think he looks cute. I'm sure he's horrifying. Oh, those Pokemon are, but he got a little cape.
Yeah.
But yeah, Slowpoke is definitely one of the. If you read of course, the Pokedex entries for Pokemon are often strange and hilarious, but the ones for Slowpoke are particularly depressing. It's basically takes like 5 seconds to register and to like react to any stimulus because they're so slow. And then also they're apparently eating Slowpoke tails is like a delicacy.
the original Slowpoke, it had its tails eaten in. It was like a Team Rocket plot that you foil.
Right.
And the first game, I think it's the first one.
In this article, it was saying that there's a Team Rocket
They cut off
plot
their tails.
that you foil, but then
gold and silver.
But then later on in the game, later on in the series, Slowpoke tails are just like a delicacy that people eat.
Yep.
So apparently you didn't succeed in not having that be a thing.
Can you imagine, like, because I assume, I don't know, I can't remember if their tails grow back or not, but can you imagine you're a Slowpoke, you need your tail to dip into the water and a shelter to attach to it in order to evolve, and someone decides to eat your tail?
Attached to it. Doesn't the shelter eat his tail? I don't know.
I think they grow back because these are supposed to be like lizard type things, right?
I don't know.
Like I think
they seem more mammal-y, but
I think that's just because they're fat and goofy. Like there's not a lot of fat, goofy lizards.
I don't know.
Anyway,
it's still gonna put off you getting your shell added to your tail.
Yeah, so put it on your head instead.
That's later. I think that's a special type of evolution too, isn't it? It's like you have to do a trait or something. Oh man, it's been so long since I knew any of this shit.
All right. So, if you've got hacked items in Animal Crossing, like for instance, any of the Harv items, like the Harv's fence and things, apparently there's this big thing where certain items that you're not supposed to be able to have that are in the game, but thing like Harv's stuff around the photo booth or whatever, you're not supposed to be able to have. You're not supposed to be able to get those items, but people have figured out how to hack the game in order to change stuff around and get it, and then they distribute it to people either trading for like Nook tickets or in some cases real money, and sort of distribute it. And so people put them around and they really like the look of them. If you just did the recent update, they all disappeared. So I hope you didn't spend a lot on them.
Yeah, Paul and I had to look up the Harv's fence thing before the show started because it was like, what? Apparently, I don't hang around enough of the Animal Crossing black market area, but it's a fence that Harv has on his island, but is not actually an item that you can obtain yourself. It's so when people have them, it's a hacked code item.
Yeah, which is funny because it might actually be something you'll be able to get in the future. Who knows?
Maybe. It's interesting because it's like
the idea of like the seedy underbelly of Animal Crossing. I find highly amusing.
If you're gonna, I mean, that underbelly's been there for a very long time. This game focuses in on having all of its seasonal content as updates, which means if you want to have to be able to play the new stuff, you're going to have to download it. And of course, they're going to add in their fixes along with that content. And in order to trade or go to anyone else's island, if your copies don't have the same version, you can't do that. So you're not even going to be able to be like, oh, well, I'll just put these things on this other game, do the update, and then transfer them over, right? Like, it's actually a pretty good way to go about it.
I like that this like highly desirable hacked item, you know, people like it because it like looks nice, but it's like a fence made out of like sticks tied together. Like it's not that impressive looking. Yeah. It looks nice in the context, and it's like people like to decorate with it, which is cool.
Yeah, but it's a nice looking fence.
But it's still like not what you would expect to find on the black market. It's like, hey, you want to buy a fence? It's handmade.
I do find it interesting that because so originally there was a glitch that allowed you to take the UI away in photo mode that people were using in order to take like nicer screenshots or whatever, and then that got taken away because it got patched out, and then they reintroduced it in another set of updates. as a thing you could legitimately do. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course you're gonna take take a glitch out because it potentially does wreck other things to have it. But the fact that they put it back in makes me wonder if they are watching this stuff and they're like, oh, people really want that fence for some reason. And maybe that was always a planned thing that you could get at a different time as like a Harv, go to Harv's Island on a special day and he'll give you a fence thing. But if it wasn't before, I kind of hope that they'll be interested in doing it now.
Presumably all the stuff is like in the game to do it because they can hack it in. Yeah. So like, I don't see any real, like they might as well make it possible to get it.
It's an asset that exists within the game, and if they can just make it a real fence, then maybe they will. That'd be neat.
There's also I think there's also something to be said though for, and maybe this is an old man beach thing all of a sudden, but it's like there's something to be said for personal items belonging to animals or whatever in the game. Like somebody had said, I want the Squally Kanto said, I want the Plant and Sable shop. It's like, oh, there's more than just one thing in this game that is a unique item that is tied to, you know, a certain place or person or whatever. And that kind of makes me think it's like, oh, well, why wouldn't you just be like, it's cool that person has their own thing. Like in the Able Sisters shop, there's that big tapestry that's on their wall, that hanging tapestry, right? Mm-hmm. That's something that their mother made before both the parents mysteriously passed away. And it's like, people will be out there being like, yeah, but I want that tapestry for my wall. I want it in my fucking house. And it's kind of like, maybe it's okay that they have things that belong to just them.
It's a very like, you know, like Bruce Wayne, like thing where it's just like, hey, that family heirloom you have, yeah? I'll give you $1 million for it. It must be mine.
I want to point out that every single person who wanted it got like some sort of Mother's Day made plushie thing earlier, and so everybody's got one of those. Does everyone have the same mom?
Right?
Maybe all of our moms are the Able Sisters moms, and we should also have a fun quilt tapestry thing for our wall that they could give us in a special thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, you know, Bruce Wayne does the thing where he's like, oh, you won't sell me, you know, that sweet wall tapestry? All right. I shall buy your house and everything inside it. And you.
I don't want to sell it to you. Well, I'm buying you as well. I can't.
I'm also, I'm buying all the property around you. I own everything. All right. Last week we talked about that there are some changes happening in No Man's Sky that are updating and changing the world and adding a bunch of new things and changing some of the things that can happen on places. Well, it's not all good. You see, there's these things called Diplos, which are a very rare kind of dinosaur that people really like for reasons that if you play Animal Crossing, you will know, in the sense that it's something cool that is unusual and they look nice. And
they have a 0.25% chance of spawning.
And so but they've become popular enough that they've become like a
symbol,
a mascot for a lot of the sort of player organizations. And most of the big centers of player, like the big player bases, they build them on planets that have Diplos on them, because they like to have them around, and they're on the crest of the organization and stuff.
It's kind of like how we have the beaver on our flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a change in the system, and there's one of the big planets that a lot of players had their bases built on, changed to a different type of planet, which does not have Diplos on it anymore. Oh, no. And what's great about how No Man's Sky does these updates is it's not just that the Diplos are gone. If you go and look in the info about the planet, It's that the Diplos are now extinct on this planet.
Oh.
It says that they were there, but they're now extinct.
They're gone.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what you did, but they're gone now.
Yeah. You were gone for 24 hours, and all of a sudden, I don't know, they all died.
So there's now been a great migration where all these people are going out and coordinating through Reddit groups and all these different things to go out and find we shall find a new world, a better world, one with Diplos.
And it's just they just want to find a new place so they can move their capital to that location. It's like we're not moving there because we're just doing that because we're going to decide we're going to move the whole capital to the planet that has Diplos on it.
I'm assuming you can't pick up Diplos and move them to another world.
Probably not.
I don't know.
Transplant them onto another place.
Well, you probably shouldn't.
What I thought was interesting about this too is it's not just the Diplos, because the guys are like, well, if we're going to move our capital, then let's find a planet that not only has Diplos but also has an incredibly rare species of beetle. Is also has a biome that is largely tropical. Like they have a whole list of things,
a bunch of requirements. Yeah,
and it's kind of like that makes sense. I mean, if given what you've learned and given all the stuff you've gone through, it's like if I'm going to have to move the entire capital of my galactic hub, it's going to go exactly in the place where we are going to want it. We're going to take a whole bunch of time and figure it out exactly what we want to do. We won't just build it on the edge of a river or in the middle of a goddamn swamp.
They're not looking for a temporary fix-up planet. They're looking for their dream planet.
Exactly.
And that is the planet they're going to live on for the rest of their lives.
Hub Hunters Intergalactic.
There's a hajillion billion planets that have been generated in the No Man's Sky universe. So presumably they're going to find the perfect Goldilocks thing at some point. And what I find great, what I found very encouraging, I guess, I was just reading a little bit of the No Man's Sky, not even the No Man's Sky subreddit, but the subreddit for the community organization stuff. And the universal thing was oh man, we lost our Diplos, but this update is so great. I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
Which is a nice, it's kind of a positive way. There's a lot of people who be I lost part of my base because now because half my base is now a swamp and it's sunk into the swamp. And people are oh, that sucks. But on the plus side, I have all this new cool stuff I can do. So, yay. So I appreciate that sort of positivity.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man Remastered, which we talked about last week as well. You'll know whether you have it or not.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because Peter Parker looks very different in the remaster. Not just better because it's higher resolution, but they actually completely redid the model and redid the motion capture too, or redid some of the motion capture anyway, to try to make him look more like Tom Holland.
Is this just in the PlayStation 5 version?
Yes.
This is Spider-Man Remastered, yes. So it's the PS5 version.
Yeah, I would argue that you might notice that your PlayStation 5 looks a lot different than your PlayStation 4.
Oh, yeah. Right. This hasn't made it into the PS4 version.
But,
Or has it?
So Tom Holland doesn't do the weird thing is Tom Holland doesn't do the voice for Spider-Man.
Oh, really?
It's Yuri Lowenthal.
Yeah, in the game. And it doesn't look like and the other weird thing is that it doesn't look like he was originally supposed to be Tom Holland. His original, they talk about how it's it's so much better model and everything. And the original model doesn't actually look bad. It just looks like a different guy. It just doesn't look like Tom Holland. And so now they're changing it, which it's in some ways, I think, was it, Heather, were you saying it kind of looks like Tom Holland, mixed with Mark Zuckerberg?
The original looks, to me, a lot more like Ralph Macchio.
Huh.
But not quite.
That was not me, but I can kind of see why someone would say that. It just looks weird on the side by side.
And it's also not
more
even
than anything.
It's not even supposed to be like the MCU. Like, it's not supposed to be that Tom Holland. Yeah. It's not supposed to be that Spider-Man, really. So it's kind of odd, but
it's like his hair is different. His hair is combed differently, even.
Yeah, they basically were just like, we think people will like it more if it's Tom Holland, and then they just made it look like Tom Holland. Because I mean, I look at this and I'm like, yeah, that's him. That's the Spider-Man I saw in those 2 movies. I'm like, there's no kind of like, it kind of looks. It's like, no, it's like freaking spot on. Like, oh well.
It's just weird side by side. I'm sure once you see it in game, it's probably not that noticeable.
Yeah.
In terms of like you even care.
Do you want to get Overwatch for free? Well, tough. You missed it.
In the course of about 20 minutes.
Because it wasn't apparently supposed to be public. It was there. So there was this thing where the Polygon reported it's like, hey, Boston
Uprising,
which is one of the Overwatch League teams, is like, hey, if you go to their website, fill out this form, bam, free copy of Overwatch. Isn't that awesome? It turns out that it was supposed to be one of those things, like, you know, if you sign up to like a musician's website, they give you the code for like the pre-order thing. Yeah, it's like, you're cool, so we're going to give you the code. It was supposed to be like, Boston Uprising fans, you're cool, we're going to give you a free copy of Overwatch. And then somebody leaked the like address for it or whatever, and so everyone was just downloading it, and they're like, whoop, hey, oh, we can't have that. So yeah, because it was like, because they've done free weekends with Overwatch before, but it's only been for the weekend. This was just like permanently free. Yeah. So whoops. So of course, a bunch of people are like, yay, I got it for free, and then a bunch of people are like, guys, stop. We're actually the Boston Uprising fans, and you just messed it up for everybody. Thanks.
When I thought about this, I was like, I don't know who in the organization was like, okay, so here's the thing. We're going to send out a secret plain text email to people so they can go to our site where they'll click on a form. And when they fill out the form, we'll give them a code so they can go to BattleNet, and then they can put the code in and redeem a thing. It's like, okay, that sounds great.
We're not gonna
secret email that's in plain text that anybody can deal with. Are they all gonna have unique codes? No, that's why you come to the form.
We're gonna give them like a thing where you have to put in your username or some kind of identifier.
Well, you do have to put in put in your name and your email address, but it wasn't like they said, oh, we'll link that back to the people who are on our mailing list.
So that's what I mean, right? Like it's like
there's lots of ways they could have done it, but they didn't.
No,
because I've definitely been on Reddit when there's been a Target suddenly accidentally changes the price for a Switch game, and now it's like $10 for some reason, and it's totally not to be, and everyone's like, quick, clearly this is a mistake, or go buy the thing before they notice. And then about half an hour later, maybe, if they're lucky, there's another post that's like, okay, it's gone. Okay, did anyone get through? Whose orders are getting canceled?
It just definitely feels to me like it's like somebody without a lot of experience in how these things work set this up and was like, it'll be fine. And I'm like, you didn't really coordinate this with a lot of people who could have said, but what if the internet finds out? And it's like, the internet's not going to find out. Did you really just say that?
To be honest, I gotta say, like, this is one of those situations where I was like, wait, Overwatch isn't free to play already?
Yeah!
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those games where you just sort of, because it's, it's fairly famous for having tons of paid DLC in it, and, loot boxes and stuff. Yeah. I assumed it was I kind of assumed it was free to play.
Too.
Based on the headline you posted, which is Overwatch free PC giveaway shut down, I was like, okay, that's a weird amalgamation of words, but what I'm getting is Overwatch was running a giveaway where you would get a free PC, and they have shut that down, is what I thought this was all about.
No.
Yeah.
Halo 3 glitches. Speaking of things going
new
weird.
glitches.
This is real neat.
People are amazing what they accomplish in these games. So there's a community. I think we've touched on these guys before, but there's a community known as Halo Stunters, people who do ridiculous things in Halo. And it's particularly interesting because, of course, other than recently, now that, Halo, it's only recently that Halo has come out on PC, really. For the majority of the time, it was an Xbox thing. And so when it's on console, there isn't the same kind of, people hacking the game and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so people actually have to find glitches and weirdness in the game. And of course, Halo, they found tons of stuff in terms of, falling through the world and messing around with things, clipping through walls and things. And so there becomes this community of people doing all sorts of silly things. Trickosity, that's the name of a group of stunters in Halo. And apparently the white whale of the Halo 3 stunting community is the skybox, which is basically where the end credits are shown. So, which I love this kind of stuff in games, right? The sort of how the magic is made stuff, where it's the credits have to be somewhere for the game to show them. Yeah. And so they put them way off somewhere where no one will ever access them. And then
but they're still part of the map.
And then and because they don't want it to have to load, they make it part of the map, and then they just teleport the camera there, lock it in place, and have the credits roll.
Okay, yeah. That seems reasonable.
It is there on the map. And so they figured out, and I think it's actually below the map. And so they figured out, and the problem is the level that it's in doesn't have a lot of stuff for stunters to work with in terms of things that are glitchy. But they figured out that if you are in a car or in a truck and you start falling, basically you fall fast enough and you fall so fast that you clip through the ground. And so they figured this out, and in a very complex... you can watch the video of it, and it's basically them the most forget military precision. This is the most synchronized timed precision thing over 10 or 15 minutes of a bunch of stuff that has to happen all at the right times. Things have to be moved to certain spots. Things have to be thrown into the air and land certain places. Things have to be moved around. Certain areas have to be loaded and then unloaded. Different things have to all happen. And then you basically clip through the ground and then get teleported to this end area. And you can wander around inside this area that you're not supposed to be in. That there's nothing in except these sort of big skybox walls that have pictures that are in the background during the credits. But the point is, they made it there when nobody else could, and they've been trying for 13 years. And now they got there.
That's a lot of work.
Why? Because it was there.
Yeah, I mean, good on them for finding a way in.
It's funny because it's one of those things, too, where they said it's the list of things that we're trying to do in Halo 3 is getting shorter and shorter. This one was at the top. And now that we have done it and we can strike that off, there's just, less and less things that we're going to keep trying to do in this game. We're running out of things to do, to break, to kind of screw around with. I'm that's wild. You're going to eventually just kind of be we've solved everything. Well, back to speedrunning.
Yeah.
Oh, then you move on to a new game to break, if you haven't already.
And then I think the final story I have here is mostly just dumping on Stadia some more. Because,
easy place to dump.
You do. Because Google just released a new Chromecast, a new $50 slightly cheaper Chromecast, which is great, and I'm sure is excellent if you want Chromecast type capabilities. However, one of the big things of the Chromecast is supposed to be the entry point for getting into Stadia. It would be great. All you need is a Chromecast. Bam, you're on Stadia. Turns out this one doesn't work with Stadia.
That seems weird.
It will, according to Google, they said that they will bring it to the new Chromecast with Google TV in the first half of 2021.
Yeah, but that seems weird to put that out with not... Is Stadia actually out?
Yes.
Or were we just...
It's 11 months old, according to what I'm seeing in chat. Thank you, Peach.
Yeah, but I know there was like a beta, a locked down thing, and then like a public thing, and I'm never sure where it is or why.
And apparently people have actually sideloaded Stadia onto it, and it's worked.
So it doesn't officially support it at all, which makes you wonder why.
That is weird.
Why?
Yeah, why doesn't it just work with Stadia?
I'm assuming
it's their product, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm chalking this up to the whole, giant company, different parts of the company not talking to each other stuff, where it's just like, there's just because things are made by the same company doesn't necessarily mean that they work together. I mean, it should, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Amazon launching, is it Luna?
It's Luna.
Thank you. So Amazon launching Luna, which is their new game streaming service that they're developing. And Amazon also being a company that makes the Fire TV line of Androidish appliances that you can plug in.
Yeah.
This will obviously all that shit's
Fire
gonna play
tablets
together.
too.
Yeah, all that's going to play together. That's going to be kind of their aim, is to be like, we want to be able to have our devices much the same as what Google is doing. Amazon's going to want to be able to have the same thing happen there as well, because otherwise what would be the point, right? And Google has their Chromecast Ultras, which support Stadia currently, and there's, what they have. And I'm like, I think this will be an interesting thing to watch. I don't care about either product and don't want to go get either the Google setup or the Amazon setup because I don't care about either gaming system. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how two tech giants who are now making their own like TV casting stuff and also both have game streaming as a thing, how they're approaching this problem and how they're going to compete on that. Because Apple's gaming sauce is Apple Arcade is a way for you to subscribe to a service that lets you download games onto your devices that you already have, and for as long as you're a part of the thing, the game is on your phone or the game is on your Apple TV and you can play it. Whereas these are streaming services specifically.
Yes.
And I just think that's going to be really interesting to see how that works, because like NVIDIA's GeForce Now thing, I don't think of NVIDIA in the same way as I think of Google and Amazon. Google and Amazon are content companies and advertising companies and retail companies. Not like NVIDIA, like I don't see as that kind of company. So NVIDIA's idea of having GeForce Now and having the NVIDIA Shield, that's not the same kind of thing, because the Shield is also $200. It doesn't seem like the same kind of value proposition there. They're not saying, we're selling you GeForce Now because we want you to play it on all of our little devices. Whereas it sounds like Google and Amazon are saying, we have Stadia, we have Luna, because we also want you to buy Chromecasts and we want you to buy Fire Sticks, because we want to kind of build an ecosystem in much the same way that Apple has built an ecosystem.
I can't see, currently I can't see either one of them doing well when the Xbox Game Pass seems to be the thing where all that value actually is.
Like, to me, both Google and Amazon, it's always been like the other way around. Like they made the Chromecast, and Amazon made its Fire Sticks and things.
Yeah.
Basically sells them for cost so that people have a device with which to consume the content that they are paying that you're paying for. Right?
True.
Like Amazon just needs you to have a thing so you can watch your Amazon Prime stuff, or you can buy your Kindle books. If you don't have a device to do that with, they can't sell it to you. So they want to get those devices into your hands as easy as possible. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I always saw the devices as being the whatever lost leader for the content, as opposed to the other way around.
But I think that's like, I agree with you that I think that is always the case, is that as long as Amazon was like, we're going to make this, and a great way to get people into doing that, like a great way to get people like to use all the parts of their Amazon Prime whatever, was to say, we'll make really cheap devices that we know can run Amazon Prime Video and can, like, Amazon Kindle stuff. And that was like always to drag you into being a part of the services, obviously. And I feel like once you're into that garden, that the idea for them is to be like, yes, and just please keep using, buy a Fire TV, because if you want Luna, then buy a Fire TV, because it'll be the best way to do Luna, and that will also then give you access to Amazon Prime Video and on Amazon
more
Kindle.
Like buy a Fire TV. Hey, it supports Luna, but also all these other things that you were probably buying that for anyway.
Yeah.
So check out Luna.
Yeah, because now that you have the device in your house, it's like, do you think about trying out Luna? Because you have the device in your house because of Amazon Prime Video.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's probably a lot of synergy there more than it is about make a cheap device because that'll be your entry point. It's probably like, you've already entered into these gardens, haven't you? So here's a new... Because I don't think that... I just kind of feel it's weird. Like, I'm not sure where that comes down now, because are you going to buy a Chromecast so you can use Amazon Luna?
I mean, but you don't need to buy a Chromecast to use Stadia. Stadia's whole marketing thing is play games anywhere, play it on...
But you do need a Chromecast
things.
if you want to play them on your TV,
well, sure.
Unless you have a living room PC.
Yes, but that's the whole marketing scheme of Stadia is you play it anywhere. Sure, you need a Chromecast for your television, but I don't think they're trying to sell Chromecast based on the fact of how popular Stadia is.
That's true. That's very true.
Anyway, on that note, thanks everybody for watching, and also some of you have Twitch Prime subscriptions, which could be relevant in the near future because we are going to welcome all the subscribers to this channel. Because we want to thank you
for part of the show,
giving us those Bezos bucks. Starting with this person, Bad Panda Bear, 33 months. Can there be such a thing as a bad panda bear? I don't know.
Probably.
All panda bears are friendly.
Croco King, the newest Pokemon for 69 months. Welcome.
Galen S. has been here for half a year. Happy half-a-year anniversary.
Innovative Methods for 39 months. That sounds like that could be very intimidating. It's like, Mr. Bond, we have various innovative methods to make you talk. One with a rubber ducky.
Ooh. Sorry, Dragon 42 for 10 months. Keep on soaring.
And a welcome back to Lunatic 93, who's been here for 49 months. That's a square.
The Woogly for 56 months. Thank you very much.
Atomic Alchemical for 13 months. The lucky 13. Hey.
Jacob 97 has been here for 18 months. Welcome back.
Getting shushed for 18 months. Moyashi Cat for 11 months. Thank you very much.
Bibit Noir, 67 months. 2 less than that whatever thing. Welcome.
Oni Squirrel has been here for 53 months. Welcome back, Oni Squirrel.
PK Jester for 42 months. Thank you very much.
Psycon Jr. for 64 months.
Word Mogul has been here for 22 months. Welcome back.
Anim Zero, gifted by the Meerkat. Thank you very much.
Winter Nightingale, also gifted by the Meerkat. Thank you.
No Smoke, Fire, gifted by the Meerkat.
Asimek, also gifted by the Meerkat. I guess those were all gifted separately rather than as one thing.
Yeah, they're allowed to give out gifts however you want. And thank you for the 553 bits, Pharaohbender 27, Gap Filler, Urson 1, VM Kid, and for the rest of the chat, getting us up to 67% of ice cream.
Ooh.
And thank you also to everybody
7% this stream.
Thank you also to everybody who kicks in at youtube.com/loadingreadyrun to be a part of the YouTube memberships there. And thank you to everybody who participate in the Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. It is a new month after all, and if you are interested in being a part of those things, please just go check to make sure that all that is cool. Because I have to do the Patreon mail out thing again. Because it's a new month.
And it's okay. It's okay. We know it's still March, but now it's the Halloween portion of March.
Interesting. Yeah. For some reason that Meerkat gave 10 subs to the channel, which thank you very much. But it came through as 4 individual subs, and that's it.
Not a bulk sub like we've
4
seen in the past.
4 does not equal 10. Yeah, that's weird. I wonder if there's something messed up in their code if they added something recently.
Interesting.
With all of the ice cream challenge stuff that keeps constantly showing up in the chat, and how it just kind of like there's so much of it that I keep wondering if maybe that's doing something to
that
Lurbot.
shouldn't. That I mean, no, I've seen people.
Like the chat's gone faster before and everyone's stuff's been grabbed.
Yeah, that's not a. I don't think that's a failure on Lurbot. I think because I've seen. I saw somebody complaining somewhere else about how they had gifted 6 subs, but only 3 came through on the thing, and like in the chat itself. And I feel like that's something weird going on with Twitch that I don't think that would have to do with channel points.
Okay.
All right. Well, whatever the case, thank you for your immense generosity. Coming up, something super fun. At 5 o'clock, just a little over an hour from now, we've got Friday Night Paper Fight, where Graham and James and Serge and our good friend Kenji, Numant the Nami, they're going to be playing a special, doing a special Zendikar draft. It's called Zendikar World Tour. It's something that that Card Kingdom set up for us, and it's going to be original Zendikar, Zendikar Rising, and
I know I can't remember the name of that set either.
Zenimax.
Battle for Zendikar.
Battle for Zendikar. That's it. Battle for Zendikar, Zendikar Rising, original Zendikar, 222, in a sealed pack thing. So it should be super fun. And so
then.
Yeah, paper magic. So that'll be super fun, and we've got be everyone with face cams and everything too. So it's almost like a little teeny weeny mini PPR. It'll be like regular length for an episode, but we'll do gameplay and face cams and try to do it up all fancy like. So check that out, and coming in about an hour. And of course, Loading Ready Run. And the on Saturday we've got the Star Wars
Squadron.
Star Wars Squadrons,
Yeah.
which
I think
is
it's
the new hotness. Yeah, from 1 until 4, but James says it can go as late as needed.
1 until at least 4, or when they figure out how to stop. I guess. I think it's going to depend on how much fun they're having. Is this a server-based game? Maybe it depends on whether the servers work.
been having bad luck with that lately. Anyway, so check that out. loadingreadyrun.com/live is the place to go for all the schedule stuff. And that's also got the calendar and things. Once again, of course, thank you so much to everyone for supporting us over on the Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. You can also subscribe here on Twitch or follow us or go to our YouTube channel, or perhaps you are already on our YouTube channel. Normally it's really hard to coordinate like back and forth swaying over video calls because everyone's out of sync with each other.
Yeah.
But you two have no excuse. You are in the same room with each other.
Yeah, she's screwing with me.
Yeah.
I'm watching her with the corner of my eye to make sure I could be on the same beat.
Screwing with Beige is a fine excuse.
All right, good.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We will talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.